Call to order this Thursday, January 7th, 2021, isn't that? Oh, we got a feedback here. Who's on? Tracy, if you could mute yourself, that'd be great. Let me try that again. The call to order this Thursday, January 7th, 2021, meeting of the Springfield Historical Commission. Commissioners Walsh, Nardi, McFarland, Rowe, and Kroll are present. Any others? Okay, there's no table items to deal with. Let me just go over some of the kind of guidelines here. Any petitioners or anybody who's going to speak, please give your name and address prior to addressing your petition or prior to speaking for the record. And let me just go over this. In order to enable municipal government to continue its important work during COVID-19 pandemic while assuring both city employees and citizens can satisfy CDC social distancing guidelines, City of Springfield is providing public notice that it will conduct a public hearing using remote technology. Copies of said petitions and maps may be requested by email or phone. Email should be directed to the Office of Planning and Economic Development at allen@springfieldcityhall.com or by calling 413-787-6020. To view the public hearing, a Focus Springfield Community TV website. Public comment will be taken in two segments. The first public comment period will take place prior to the meeting discussion. The second public comment period will take place after the meeting and will remain open for 24 hours after the meeting. To provide for public comment in writing, mail Springfield Historic Commission, 70 Tapley Street, Springfield, Mass. 01104, or email allen@springfieldcityhall.com. And to provide for public comment by voicemail, the number is 413-750-3223. Messages received will be played at the Historic Commission hearing or at the continued hearing date. All commenters should state their name, address, and company organizational affiliation in addition to the items their comments pertain to. Voice messages received 24 hours before the hearing will be put into the record during the public hearing, and comments after the meeting will be entered at the continued hearing date. Just to FYI, all of the hearings, new public hearings today, no votes are taken because we have to allow for public commentary. So you will just be presenting and commenting on your applications, and then we will be continuing those hearings until the January 21st meeting where a vote would take place. Okay, so let's get right to that. The first application is 50 Marango Park. Application for certificate of appropriateness for NESCOR be removing 25 existing windows, replacing with Wood Majesty Harvey replacement windows and existing openings. Exterior capping will not be touched. Windows to have white interior and black exterior cladding to match homes the original windows. Are the petitioners here for this? Let me see.
We are here representing NESCOR, and the homeowner is here as well.
Okay. Well, if you just update us on the project, that would be great.
So we've changed the proposed windows from white vinyl windows to wood windows. We actually selected one from the list that was supplied by the commission of previously approved windows. That's the Harvey Majesty line, and we're doing the same colors that are the original make of the home that we were sent in the photos from the commission as well. So the black exterior and the white interior to match the original look of the home, but they will be the wood windows.
Excellent. Are there any questions from commissioners?
All right, just one question on the windows themselves. Will they have raised exterior on the grids?
There are no, make sure I'm not misspeaking. There are no grids on any of these windows previously or proposed.
Okay, Perfect.
Yeah, I was fairly certain they were 1/1s, yes.
I just wanted to ask the question, that's all.
No, that's good.
Thank you.
Question?
Won't be doing anything at all to the exterior either. We won't be flashing. We're gonna keep it exactly as it is.
Okay.
Question?
Hey, go ahead, Commissioner Nardi.
I am just asking, what is the glass? Is it clear? I know it's insulated.
Yes, it is, the specific glass blend on these is it's the argon gas with a low E coating. So it's an energy efficient window, but yes, it's completely clear. None of them are scared or anything.
So it has a slight tint to it from looking from the inside.
I don't believe so.
No?
We do low E windows and they don't have a tint looking through them.
Okay.
No, it's,
The heat mirror line that was previously proposed that we also offer, that does have a slight tint to it.
Right,
These windows
okay.
are clear.
These are clear. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
any other comments or questions on that? Okay, then I entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll roll call the vote. Commissioner Kroll,
yes.
Commissioner Rowe,
yes,
Commissioner McFarland,
Yes.
Commissioner Nardi,
Yes.
and Commissioner Walsh. So that is continued. As I explained a few minutes earlier, all these hearings get continued to the next meeting date of the 21st for a vote to allow for any public commentary. Anyway, thank you. That's a good plan.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to the next, which is 91 Piney Woods, an application for certificate of appropriateness, Jennifer and David Boyce. Replace of front porch windows and one side windows with Pella Architect Series traditional double hungs with matching exterior white and grill pattern as existing.
Commissioner Walsh, we did receive a letter today that the contractor would be representing on her behalf today, Mr. Schultz.
Okay. Mr. Schultz, if you could just fill us in.
Yes. So I'm Jonathan Schultz with Pella Windows. And as stated on the contract and application, we are replacing the existing wood windows with our Architect Series white exterior, simulated divided light grills, not touching any of the exterior trim in this case, and replicating what was there as closely as possible.
Okay, any questions from commissioners? Are there, now I'm looking through the pictures here to see. No, there's an exterior grill.
Exterior and interior grill, yes.
Okay,
Question?
Yes.
go ahead, Commissioner Nardi.
Thank you. So I see storm windows on the photographs. They will remain?
The storm windows will be removed and disposed of.
Okay.
Interesting, because there's different, looks like a 9/1 and then a 6/1 next to it. How many, let me go back to the beginning here. How many windows are being replaced?
We're replacing a total of 6.
Okay, all right. And you said white exterior?
Correct, to match existing.
I'm just here looking for the historic photos. The usually we don't, white is not usually what we're after for exterior. Because those don't, well, I can't tell from these pictures. I mean, the storm windows are white, but it doesn't look like the windows are white.
They are, is it possible for me to share a color photo?
Yeah, I actually thought I had a color photo here. I'm not sure why I'm not finding it, but I'm not sure. Is that possible, Alvin? Do we have a color photo of the house?
I don't have a color photo. If you don't have it in the file, then we can have Mr. Schultz, if he has a photo, he can share it.
Okay, go
What
right
I will
ahead.
say is, what I will say is that the historic photograph shows dark colored windows.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything on file for replacement windows at any point.
Okay.
It looks like they were painted white on the exterior at some point in time.
Okay. I mean, you
May
can
I
put
share?
that up if you have it. Go ahead and share it with us.
I do. One moment, please.
Okay, thank you.
Is this visible?
Yeah.
And Alvin, any photos that were not in the agenda should be entered into as soon as possible for the open meeting law. So.
Okay. Mr. Schultz, can you email me that color photo?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll stop sharing.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Any potential of having a different, I mean, I think that historically we'd be more comfortable with a different color than white. Are those windows have availability of colors?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other commissioners want to comment? Hearing none. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Schultz?
Not at this time.
Okay. So I'm going to entertain a motion to continue this application to the meeting on the 21st
So moved.
to allow for public commentary. Motion made by Commissioner Rose, or second? Somebody give me a second.
Second.
Waving. Okay,
Oops,
second.
sorry, my mic was off.
It's okay. Any discussion on the motion to continue to the 21st? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Kroll. Commissioner Kroll. Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
Commissioner McFarland.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, was that Commissioner Kroll jumping in? Commissioner Nardi
Yes.
and Commissioner Walsh, yes, to continue this application to the 21st to allow for public commentary. All right, thank you, Mr. Schultz.
You, sir.
Okay, was there, okay, 120 Clarendon. This is an application for certificate of non-applicability regarding from Stephen Gray, construction of an extension of rear of existing garage with no changes visible from Clarendon Street using materials similar to the existing structure. Extension of the garage will be an extra 30 feet to the rear.
I want to make a statement. Mr. Gray is not on the call today. He's being represented by Mr. David Gaby. I did go out and do a site visit with Mr. Gaby, and the reason why this is before you guys, because it is visible from the public way.
Okay. So in their application, it's no changes visible from a public way.
So I believe you guys should change the category from non-applicability, because it is visible, and the change will be visible from the public way.
Okay.
The roof, if I can say, the roof can be seen from Worthington.
Mr. Davis, can you say that again, please?
the roof of the structure can be seen from Worthington Street, which I didn't realize when I wrote the application.
Okay. It's just all going to be the same color and the same material, just a larger garage, correct?
Right. The roof of the existing garage will stay, but be projected backwards as if you're standing on Clarendon Street, backwards from the existing garage towards Thompson.
I have color pictures for this one. Is it not visible just because of that stockade fence?
I think so. There's two fences. There's a stockade fence right next to the building, and there's a stockade fence closer to Worthington Street at the rear of, I think it's 127 Clarendon.
I mean, because that garage is really nothing to be matching the historical garages of the area anyway.
Seemingly
Could you, I apologize, David, could you please repeat that? It broke up a little bit.
we think that the garage was built in the 1960s.
Yeah, I would suspect. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about that?
I sent down some elevations at Alvin's request, showing that there's going to be some doors facing inside to the yard. I don't think that's visible from anywhere. And we're using the same siding and windows.
Okay.
So it's not going to be any less modern than it looks as it looks right now, but it will match the existing garage.
Okay. All right, anything else? Any commissioners have any questions about that? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to continue 120 Clarendon till the meeting on the 21st.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Kroll?
Yes.
Commissioner?
I'm sorry. I guess the category is my question.
Oh, well, then we did have a little discussion, didn't we? Okay, let's back up a little bit. There's a motion to continue the discussion on the motion. And you want to put this under appropriateness?
I mean, this is up to the commission, but again, it is visible. It will be a change that will be visible. At least the roof line you'll be able to see. You'll be able to see an extra 30 feet of roof line.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be the same color shingle as the same type of shingle as the roof that's presently visible.
Well, I got to think about that one for a minute. Any commissioners have any comments on that? What they think the classification should be? I also think it's okay if we continue and we can deal with the classification at the next meeting. Because that's all we're doing is continuing.
I think it might be helpful if when Alvin is out and about, just to give us a rough idea, is it 10% of the roof visible, or is it, that might be helpful to, at least with a classification. Because if it's an insignificant amount, then it doesn't make any sense.
My problem with the appropriateness is that if the garage itself really isn't appropriate if we were doing it now. If it were to replace an existing old garage, we wouldn't probably be approving this, but this was done probably before it was a district.
Right.
So it might be, to me, and tossing it up, it might be non-applicable to extend a garage in the same manner and design and material that was already there.
Well, yeah, unless you can, unless it's a significant visual.
Right, but my
Change.
point is that's why I'm not sure if I would call it appropriate or non-applicable. So
Right.
I'm actually not sure. I think we need to continue in order to do a little bit more and get a little more information on the site.
I agree. Some photographs might be helpful for the record.
I mean, I have them here and they're not bad. I got the picture of the fence and the roof line. You can't really picture, there's not really a rendering of where the new roof line is going to be.
I did place pictures in your packets from my observations when I was looking from the public way.
Right.
I have those in your packets.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. But what I mean is that I don't think there's a rendering of how much longer it's going to be. I think it's okay for us to vote on a continuance and deal with the.
I can provide you guys with a picture prior to the next meeting.
Well, I got a decent one here. If you have something else, it's okay. If you have
Showing the proposed new roof.
okay. Yeah, why don't you send that to us? So I'm going to move back to the motion, which was already seconded, and we were calling the vote on the motion to continue. And Commissioner Kroll had voted yes. Commissioner Rowe?
Yes.
And Commissioner McFarland?
Yes.
Commissioner Nardi?
Yes.
And Commissioner Walsh to continue. But I'm going to make a note to make sure we're dealing with that we can finish dealing with the appropriateness and non-applicability next week or 2 weeks. And David, anything you want to send to us regarding that would be appreciated. Okay, next up. Just got to write a note here, so. Next up is an application for certificate of appropriateness. 135 Westminster Street, Carolina, Rivera. Remove and install a new entry door with no structural changes. I do believe we do have some commentary on this already. If I can find it. And if everybody looked at that, we do have pictures. So obviously this is basic, removing the door with the crescent kind of semicircular windows at the top and replacing with an oval. Hold on. With an oval window. Caroline, is there anything else you'd want to tell us about that? Ms. Rivera, if you're there. Okay.
I mean, good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I work for Lowe's. My name is Chris Minnie. I applied for the application on behalf of Ms. Rivera.
Okay. Yes, but do we have a letter or something, Alvin, indicating that it's okay for Chris to speak in her behalf?
I'm not sure if I have a letter, but she is on the call. Or at
Yeah, I
least,
know. Oh, there she is.
Sorry. Hi.
She's back. Okay. In that case, Chris, go right ahead because I'm fairly certain that Ms. Rivera wants you to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a field service coordinator with Lowe's, so I deal with the permitting process. This is my first time dealing with the historical commission. So I'm looking at my other computer over here with the package and stuff to make sure I got all my information correct. Yeah, she purchased this door through Lowe's, and I applied for the building application, and they came back and they told me it was historical. So then we're going through this process, and
correct.
When I went over there to take the pictures of the door, I noticed it's pretty unsecure. Like it's one small little kick away from going in. I would consider it, in my estimation, an emergency because that door is pretty unsecure. And I understand the historical value, and I'm just pretty much here to learn the process, I guess.
Well, part of the process is any change to the exterior, and something visual from a public way or park, or something public has to. It's in a historic district, has to come before us. And what we ask is for you, what you're doing, and Ms. Rivera is just to give us the plan. Some models and designs are not appropriate relative to historic. We want historic replication as close as possible. Sometimes some doors are very obviously not appropriate, and some are on borderline, and some are, obviously appropriate. So what we're trying to determine is just how does this door fit? It seems like the door that was previous, or the door that's there already, isn't, I don't know when that got put in, but that's not something that we might have, we probably wouldn't have approved that at the time. My question is that if you look at more doors, front doors, or my statement in the area, you won't find an oval kind of stained glass style door in an entrance door like that. Normally they were usually a couple of different, either a double door with glass in the top half or the top third. Now there is a public commentary here. I can't find it, Alvin. I'll look through one more time. Have you looked at any other designs, something maybe with just a plain, glass upper third? I know Lowe's has them, so.
Yeah, I have sent some over to her, and we're ready to, or hopefully ready to pause if this door does not get accepted. It would be up to her at that point what we would do to move forward, if she likes any other style of doors that we have.
Yeah. Ms. Rivera, have you looked at any other styles of doors?
Yes, I did. I actually looked at the first one that you sent me. It's the brown one.
Right.
Yeah. I did talk to my mom about it, and she agreed if it was not approved.
Okay. All I'm suggesting is that, because I know that Lowe's has the doors, it's not that you won't find one. And it is that the door you're asking for would not generally be the door that would be appropriate for that house. And the other one is actually a more basic, a basic design, more basic design. But it sounds like you're open to suggestion anyways.
Yes, sir. So I have a picture of a door right next to me. I get on my work computer there, because it's a Lowe's computer. It doesn't allow Zoom, so I'm kind of working off two computers.
That's okay. We get it.
I don't know if I could share the view of the door that we have as a secondary. That would be the only way I could do it, is if I kind of it here.
Sure, go ahead.
And Chris, if you could email that to Alvin, that'd be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Probably be much.
Thank you, Attorney.
Put my laptop there. Yeah.
You need to remind us when we do things like that it does have to be entered into the record.
Yeah, I'm not very good with computers, even though I'm young. I kind of avoided them.
It's all right. We got the message there. That's a little more.
It's the upper 1/3 of the door, right? That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I have some commentary here. I don't know why I can't put my hand on it. But didn't we have a letter here, Alvin?
We do have a letter. I can read it out if
Could you enter that to the record, please?
Yeah, also, Mr. Minnie, if you could email that to me now, and then I can try to screen share it during the meeting.
Yes, sir. I'm doing it right now.
Thank you. All right, so I'll read this letter from Mr. James Boone of 97 Florida Street. Dear Commissioners, in reference to the request to replace the front door of 135 Westminster Street, I would like to make some observations. The current door was installed years ago without permission and is inappropriate, so it is good they want to replace it. The proposed new door, though, is also inappropriate, though better. This proposed door is the now popular faux Victorian door that uses the vocabulary of the Victorians, but not a design that is in keeping with any house in the McKnight district. This so-called stained glass elongated oval is not replicated anywhere in McKnight and has not been approved for any McKnight houses and should not be. What is appropriate is either a double door that was probably original on the house or a single door with one single glass pane on the upper half or third of the door. These are reasonably available at Lowe's. This door combined with a good quality storm door will enhance the look of the house and give better weather protection. In any case, whatever door is approved by the Commission, it should be painted a dark brown color, just as the Commission requires replacement windows to be colored a dark color. The same should apply to doors. Windows and doors are the eyes of a house and should look recessed. Thank you, Mr. Jim Boone.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like this is something that we're going to be able to figure out with that. Isn't going to be too much different than what you put in front of us. But just not to be too repetitive, but just to let you know that there is no vote being taken today. And we will continue the hearing till the 21st. But take a look at some other ones. That door that you are sending to Alvin, hopefully he'll have it here shortly and can put it up, seems initially from the view a more appropriate door. And I think it would look good there as well. In the dark color, of course, is kind of important to have it dark. But have you got that yet, Alvin?
Yes, I'm going to share it.
Yeah, put that up for us.
Sorry about the hold up.
Oh, you're doing fine, Chris. Don't worry about it. We're doing good. We want to, have the necessary information.
Okay, I apologize. I just kind of froze up my screen. Can you guys see it now?
We can.
You can? Okay.
I can, yeah. Okay. Does that come with any different kind of glass?
At Lowe's, we can really custom order anything. We could put plain glass in there. We could put anything in there. It's just a matter of, what the customer wants,
Okay. No, well, thanks for showing us that. I think that's potentially a more appropriate door. Any other comments from Ms. Rivera?
No.
No, you're okay. All right, then I'm gonna. Yeah. Chris, you looked like you were going to say something else.
Yeah, I kind of have a question about I guess this is probably just going to help my job in general going forward. Like say someone lives in a historical house and the door is like legitimately hanging off and it's an emergency. Is there some type of emergency process of getting a door, getting a project approved if it's like seriously hurting the family?
There's a potential for that too. An application would be under hardship, but to make a temporary repair would have a beginning date, an ending date on it. In other words, you'd make a repair that we would approve until an appropriate historically approved door could be then installed after. we don't usually make a hardship that's going to be for the life, forever because of a day, something like that. But under a hardship, we have done temporary repairs for different reasons when given somebody, sometimes sufficient time too, a lot of time to find what was appropriate in the for a historic door or porches or repairs or anything like that. But since doors are usually they can find an appropriate door and it can be installed fairly rapidly. So this really hasn't, in my memory, hasn't come up in this manner before us.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, because if I can find a historically appropriate door and file for like a hardship, because her door is in very rough shape, I would say. If I apply for like a hardship type thing, is there a way that we can move forward on getting her door replaced? No, the
reason that can't happen is only because we're subject to the open meeting laws. We have to allow for commentary, and under the COVID. Now, if we weren't under the kind of COVID changes and guidelines, we may have been able to hear the whole thing tonight.
Okay.
And move forward. But in order to, like I had read at the beginning, and I think you were here when I read about the COVID, trying to allow for COVID variations. That's why we can't take a vote tonight, because we got to give people a chance to comment on the application. And we are required to allow the public to comment on the application.
And that's going to happen on the 21st?
21st.
Yes, sir.
And
all right,
a vote will be taken on the 21st, yes.
All right, this is all stuff I just put into our computers just so I learned the process myself. So I appreciate you guys taking the time.
No, I appreciate you learning the process. That will help. Okay, so any other comments, commissioners, anybody on that? Okay, then I entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for 135 Westminster to the 21st.
So moved.
Okay, second. Commissioner Nardi seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Kroll?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe?
Yes.
Commissioner McFarland?
Yes.
Commissioner Nardi?
Yes.
And Commissioner Walsh is yes to continue. So that is continued until the 21st. And just to go over, I'm just going to go over this about the public commentary. And this copies, the city's providing public notice will conduct a public hearing using remote technology. To view the public hearings on Focus Springfield Community TV, public comment will be taken in 2 segments. First public comment period will take place prior to the meeting discussion. Second public comment period will take place after the meeting, will remain open for 24 hours after the meeting. To provide for public comment in writing, mail Springfield Historic Commission, 70 Tapley Street, Springfield, 01104, or email allen@springfieldcityhall.com. And to provide for public comment by voicemail, 413-750-3223. The messages received will be played at the Historic Commission hearing or at the continued hearing date. All commenters should state their name, address, and company or affiliation, organizational affiliation, in addition to the items their comments pertain to. Voice messages received 24 hours before the hearing we put to the record during the public hearing, and comments after the meeting will be entered into the continued date for the hearing. Anyway, just to reiterate that, that's the position we're in. So we'll see you at the next meeting on the 21st.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, I find it. I find the one piece of paper I couldn't find. Okay, next on is 163 Piney Woods Avenue, remove and rebuild the front porch. This is a application for certificate of hardship at 163 Piney Wood front porch renovation rebuild. See the attached justifications for certificate of hardship application. And who's representing the Manning Capital LLC? Oh, Shane Manning.
Good evening.
Okay.
I'm Shane Manning.
Fill us in on where we are.
That was a good deduction there, Vincent.
So if you could just fill us in, it'd be great.
Sure. I did submit a statement. If you don't mind, I'd probably just read through that, or has that already been reviewed? Because that kind of recaps our justification for the hardship. I'd be happy to read through it, or.
Well, I have it here.
Okay.
If we're looking at the same thing, oh no, this is a timeline. I thought it was in my packet, but
I just didn't want to be redundant.
why don't you go ahead and tell us what the hardship is about?
Sure. So basically, due to the economic circumstances and the special conditions of the porch rebuild of 163 Piney Woods Avenue, we are applying for certificate of hardship as a response to the notice of revocation of our certificate of non-applicability. According to the legal notice revoking our certificate of non-applicability, which we received on December 12th, 2020, there was a stop work order issued for 163 Piney Woods Avenue on November 5th, 2020. However, the stop work order was abided by and then removed/revoked on November 9th, about 2 business days later. So that was issued, and then a couple days later it was lifted. With the stop work order removed, we then moved forward with our plans to rebuild the porch per approved work order, and now the porch is completely built. In the notice of the revocation of non-applicability, there are several, quote, complaints from the neighborhood, end quote, that if any one of them were to be properly addressed would exceed what we can afford. For the last several weeks after the stop work order was removed, we were operating under the impression that our work was fully approved by the Historical Commission. Due to the unique circumstance of this scenario, we believe we should not be held liable to any such changes to the porch, nor can we afford such changes. For us to complete the renovation of 163 Piney Woods, we partnered with an investor and lender to help fund the project. We have exhausted those funds from the lender. And as you can see in our bank records, which I had submitted to Alvin Allen, we cannot afford the additional work to be done to this project. As a side note, we also submitted a quote of what that work would be done, or what that work would cost to be done to Alvin. So I don't know if Alvin has that as well. My wife, Erica, and I own Manning Capital together. Founded the company only 12 months ago. We are not seasoned real estate investors with capital readily available to just go ahead and pay for the remedies of said complaints. And we don't really have the means personally. My wife has been laid off due to the financial constraints of COVID-19 pandemic, and we don't really have the means to put together any type of funds to be able to support an entire rebuild, even some of the work mentioned in the complaints.
Okay, this is
one last part here,
yeah.
if you don't mind.
No, please do.
So we just overall, the reason why we wanted to apply for a certificate of hardship is we're asking that the neighborhood and the Historical Commission accept this application given the circumstances. We understand that in hindsight, we should have applied for a certificate of appropriateness from the beginning and simply just created a blueprint that truly replicated the original porch design. And in a lot of cases we did, and some of those complaints aren't accurate, that we did abide by the original design. But there were some changes, it seems like, and there was some confusion on our part and our contractor as well as how to properly go about the approval process. And our original application of non-applicability was unintendedly contradictory, but you know, the Historical Commission still went ahead and approved our plans, and we got a work order issued and everything. And we planned our entire project around that. Sure. So, and everything was clearly outlined in our submitted blueprint attached to the application of certificate of non-applicability. So we're just asking that the special condition here, and given the timing of everything, especially since the stop work order was lifted, that we get our hardship accepted, because we just have no means of addressing the complaints.
Okay. This is a case where I certainly wish you had been in front of us before, because we get all the information after everything's already happened. And you know, there is a provision that an application can be, as long as it's considered to be non-applicable, it doesn't actually have to come, I don't have to see it. But the contradiction and I'm not sure exactly how it played out. Here's one of the hard parts of hearing it, a month later or 2 months later, instead of having had it in front of us initially. And that is that maybe there was a middle road for you had you been in front of us to start with. In other words, what I'm saying is, because after I reviewed the materials, we see that it clearly says no change in design or materials, but then if you read the blueprints,
right,
there was a change in design or materials.
Right.
So the initial non-applicability acceptance was on the application, as opposed to a detailed review of the blueprint that was attached to it. So that in itself is part of where the problem is. Here's the part that you're not going to want to hear, though. Just in general, this is a general statement about hardships, in that the courts have consistently ruled that you cannot consider the cost of removal of inappropriate work as part of the hardship. Otherwise, people do work and say, I did it wrong, sorry, now, but it's going to cost me too much to change it, so now I have a hardship. I do believe that there's a middle road here somewhere. I don't know if you do, but I want you to consider it. Consider it as if you had to put it in front of us again with some of the changes you've made. I would like to see that brought to us to see if we can come to some agreement of what might have been allowed at the time and what might not have been allowed at the time. Because we are flexible at times, more than sometimes people think, more than some people want us to be. So I'm not sure how you're feeling about that. The hardship part, we can't consider the hardship because it costs you money to change what should have been done differently in the first place.
And that's why I wanted to address the second part of the scenario.
Okay.
Because the Historical Commission had issued a work stop order on the work, right?
Yes.
Given the concerns from the neighborhood. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Then it was lifted 2 days later.
Alvin, if you want to, I think you had mentioned that it was lifted thinking that you would apply for the the correct non-applicability or the correct designation. And then go ahead, Alvin. I just got into this at kind of near the end of it, so Alvin was
as well as us, yeah.
Yeah, so again, I'll just do a quick screen share, if you give me just a moment. Okay, you guys can see the screen here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the top photo is from November, I believe it was November 5th when I gave the original stop work order. And at that point, I had asked Mr. Manning and his contractor to come before the commission due to, well, the first issue was the roof. We didn't even have the other issues of the raised railing height and the porch floor and then the staircase. At that point, Mr. Manning's contractor, I did speak to Mr. Manning as well, and he basically told me that, it was an issue with their time frame of trying to sell the house. But the contractor was defiant in the matter of he didn't want to have to come back before the commission after I had already approved their work, even though I told him that the work that he had moved forward with basically wasn't in agreement with non-applicability. So, that work, even though I didn't see the fine print, again, he did give me the site plan, so that, or I'm sorry, the elevation plans. I didn't read the fine print, so that's on me for initially giving the sign off. But when it was caught, I did ask both the property owner and the contractor to come before the commission to resolve the matters of the discrepancies. They told me they would not. There was a lot of conversation. I won't even get into all the things that were said, but
just the details.
Yeah, I basically I tried to work it out with them. I spoke with my director and I let him know of the situation, and he stated that if we screwed up, then we'll rescind the stop work order. But thereafter that point, I did send it to the law department, but it took a few weeks to get a legal opinion back. So by the time we got the legal opinion back, they had already finished the work. So the second picture, as you see on the bottom, is basically I think I took that picture somewhere just before Christmas, or maybe a couple, and basically about a month later.
Yeah, I think the confusion was at the original stop work order. He had thought, or Alvin had thought that an application would be submitted, and then no application was submitted, and then work was continued in the it was continued as the it was continued as the attachment his attachment was, which was not it was not no change in design or materials, and it was clear.
There was never any conversation once the stop work order was lifted. What's that?
I said, could you identify yourself and your name, like we always do? You know this, you've been on, name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hadn't heard anyone else say their name or address. So
we're trying.
My name's Zachary Hickman. I live at 1 Elm Terrace in West Bridgewater, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
And I'm the owner and the owner of NC Building and Remodeling. We were issued a stop work order. Alvin Allen never told myself nor Shane Manning that we had to go in front of the board. He specifically told us that we were okay to continue. I sent Alvin an email responding, asking him, because we were getting heckled by the neighbors while we were working, that we couldn't be working anymore. And if we had to go in front of the board, why would a stop work order get lifted and 2 months go by and nobody said anything?
Well,
so that's not factual. I did.
Well, we can't. This is not. We can't do that here.
Yeah, we won't go back and forth. But
no, I'm not going back and forth. I'm just saying you're on telling stories. I mean, you guys sent us
stop now. Let me just take back control of what's going on here, because being the chair, I want to give Jack. I want to give you reason to speak. But don't make it this is not going to get into an argument we can't solve at a historic commission meeting. The entire commission never got information on this till it was all over, including me. And the reason that my signature is on something is because we accept an applicability when if something puts a piece of paper in my hand that says the same material design, no change in material design, that makes it not applicable. But clearly everything's attached. Now, even if I had scanned through it quickly, I might not even have noticed. The only thing I noticed when I first got it was the roof. Now, clearly there was a change in design, significant design changes. So that's why we're here. We're not here because, it's not like you got away with it because we sent you something.
I didn't
believe there was no change in design and material when there really was dramatic changes in design and material. Now, had you come in front of us, Mr. Hickman, I just want to tell you, there may have been a middle road.
No, and that's
still
fine.
Might be to solve it.
Exactly.
It might be to solve it, but have you ever? And I'm addressing Mr. Hickman right now, just for the purpose of experience. have you ever worked in a historical situation before? You've been out, I mean, out where you are, there's a lot of it going on.
Never have and never would again.
Well, it's much easier than you think if it just had happened right the first time.
So if I can speak for a minute,
you go right ahead.
Completely 110% the application of what we did apply for, due, I guess, to my lack of knowledge of dealing with the historical commission, was we applied for the wrong thing. I don't know how a full detailed blueprint that we paid for that had to get signed off and submitted to the building department got overlooked. I mean, nobody addressed.
It didn't get overlooked. What happened? I think you're putting it in the wrong order. When your application says no change in design and material, no significant, or however it was worded, I don't happen to have it in front of me.
Yep.
But I did read it. The expectation is not that I'm going to go out and go through the porch and check everything and see, make sure that every detail that you attached is really no change. But it was too dramatic for me to believe that you thought that there was no change. You're a builder. There was no change in design, material, between what you were taking down and what you were putting up.
But do you guys have to approve this application before it's sent to the building department?
Yes.
So I was wrong by the way I filled out the application, but did nobody on this committee review the blueprint that was attached to the application?
Yeah.
As you just spoke, you said the first thing that I didn't see was, or the first thing that I noticed was the roof.
Right.
So did you not, nobody on this committee browsed at the blueprint?
No, nobody did. They're not, there's a position that Alvin can take when it is believed to be non-applicable, so you can move right with it instead of having to wait till the next two meetings go by.
So so the signature that was on the blueprint that was signed off on that's nobody's? That's just.
It was based on you saying no change in
Yeah, let me put it this way. I want to try to put it in a different thing. If I write something on a first page of something, tell you it's going to be a certain way, and you say okay, and then somewhere farther in, I've made a change that you don't know about. When you're building something, you get to it and say, oh, wait a minute, this change back here doesn't go along with what you said on the first page. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's a tad disingenuous. Now, I wasn't going to say that initially, but now, because it wasn't what Alvin operated on was the statement, no changes in design or material.
So you guys wouldn't review an entire plan of what was sent to the historical commission? You only read the top sheet and that's it?
Well, he believed that there was no change in design or materials.
Yeah, but attached was a blueprint of what the proposed building.
Right. And
I mean, was it not?
It's an interesting thing that I could never read that blueprint and know that house, what exactly was on that house. The point is not that. The point is that you submit an application that was not accurate.
All right, so I guess I have a couple other quick questions.
You can say, tell me that all you want. You still filled an application out, said there was no changes, and then clearly had changes in it.
I understand that, and I stated that I was fully aware of that, and that was my mistake. As far as these, I don't know the letter that we got from the attorney, these complaints. Has anybody actually went to the house? Because there's quite a few of them on there that are not accurate whatsoever.
Well, we haven't even kind of entered those in here. I actually drove by before the railings and everything were up. Let me get back to just, we can, I don't want to belabor this anymore. I think we understand the position we're in, why we're here. Uh,
Mr. Walsh, I did identify for Mr. Manning, there were 9 complaints. Of the 9 complaints, only 4 were actually factual. In regards
Oh, okay,
to-
all right. But do we have them to enter in? Have we entered them into the record?
I could basically, I did give you the handout of the 9 issues, but I can just speak on the 4 that stand. The 4 issues that stand are the roof pitch, the raised railing height, the orientation of the porch floor, and then the design of the front steps. So those are the 4
Okay.
items.
And just for because I'm curious, what were some of the other issues that were raised by
I can bring up the,
neighbors?
I can bring it up. Just I'm terrible with computers as well, but it'll be.
I know one was the siding. They thought it wasn't a wood siding, but what had happened was some of the siding was pre-primed and some of the siding was natural cedar color. So it appeared like maybe it was like some sort of a composite, but it was all, you know, natural, true.
Looks like wood to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead, Attorney.
I have the list of the list of 9. One is porch railings are taller than original, obstructing the front windows. Number 2, no drainage holes on the sides along the porch floor. Number 3, no tongue and groove floorboards. Number 4, installed flooring running parallel to house, not perpendicular. Number 5, front steps appear to be completely different design. 6, posts appear to be square and not the round columns of the previous porch. 7, porch siding and shakes appear to be synthetic material. 8, porch now has a pitch roof as opposed to the original flat roof. And finally, porch originally has a railing system above the roof line. I can email that to you. I think you have that already.
Yeah, we have that. I guess the only thing I can look for here is if there's any middle road or any accommodations that we can make and that you can make. If you would consider telling us what you can do, what you will or you won't do, and relative to trying to restore some of it back to its original design. And one of the things we see a lot, and I'll just tell you this, we see railing height issues because in general, as a contractor, you see what the required railing height is. And it's higher than what's actually you're allowed to have a lower railing height in the historic district. And we see that very often. They are trying to, go with the current law, and you don't have to in a historic district. They shouldn't be higher than the windowsill of the windows. I'm not sure why the front steps changed. Obviously, most of the material you used is appropriate. The roof change should have been brought before us. Absolutely, the roof, anything that was going to be changed, even the perpendicular or parallel flooring, for whatever reason you changed it, should have been brought before. The big ones are the roof, the railing height, and front steps. Well, those 4 are the big ones. So I know we're not going to solve this tonight, so I want you to consider what you might be able to do differently. And as you heard at the beginning of this meeting, we can't vote anyway because we have to allow for public commentary under the COVID guidelines. And I would ask that you look at at the very least, look at those 4 major issues, see if there's anything we can do to resolve them. And we will be, I would like to, meet with you in 2 weeks to see if there is some middle road that would be appropriate and that the commissioners could vote on, so that it's not, it's not like you're starting from square one, somewhere in the middle, in order to bring it more into compliance with what would have been a likely compromise had you come right to us. So I'm not, I can't ever tell you how somebody's going to vote or not vote. I am telling you that I would like to see a plan, even if it's a compromise plan, something that we might be able to get behind you that solves a problem for both parties. Let's see, is there any other comments you'd like to make?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Can
Mr.
you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mr. Manning.
So I just want to make it very clear that our certificate of hardship is not simply just because we can't afford it, because we put all of our funds into this investment, but given the special conditions of the situation at hand, because you guys, we received a revocation of notice of non-applicability we received a stop work order. And then I had a conversation with Alvin on what happened and where was the confusion. And then we both understood that it was already approved, and we planned our entire job around the work order itself that was approved. And then 2 days later, the work order is lifted, and Alvin tells me over the phone that it was submitted as a clerical error, and that we can move forward, and that the stop work order was lifted. So I understand your I understand your perspective, right? It's like, hey, this should have been brought up to the historical commission ahead of time or earlier, which technically we did. We just were confused in the process, and then we got a false approval, and it just made things even more complicated. And I understand that, but then we caught it as it was being built, okay? And we were like, all right, what's going on? What's happening? We all stopped working, right? My contractor left. We did not do any work for 2 days. And then we got told it's a clerical error, and then we continue the work. And then now we get a revocation of notice of non-applicability. And then now we're here being told that it doesn't matter. And I find that hard to believe, because that's the special condition that we're submitting our application of hardship with. It's in my statement. I submitted it to Alvin, and I just need the committee to understand that this situation would make perfect sense if we were talking about it on November 5th when you guys issued the work stop order. But that was not addressed.
Well, as you, Mr. Manning, I need to consult with legal as well.
Understood.
And my statement was only that it was a general statement about hardship. And that was a general statement about hardship that I had this, and I have to put things like that into the record. We have guidelines, we
of course
take legal advice, in which we have Attorney Schuchuk, who's on with us all the time, not just because of this.
Right.
And I do expect to see what opinions I can get from the law department. When it was first brought to me, which was weeks after that, when it was first brought that this issue had developed, my first statement was, what's the opinion of the law department? Our goal is to have reasonable accommodations in order to preserve historic assets of the city of Springfield. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
We do not enjoy taking somebody like you who's tried hard to improve a property and then tell you all of a sudden that we can't do it that way. That's why I'm telling you that maybe there's a middle road for us, and I'm suggesting we try to find it. But we have to continue this anyway, as you know. So I'm going to ask for a vote to continue. And I am also going to ask to consult with the law department in the meantime.
Real quick, I just don't know if it makes a lot of sense for us to submit a new plan, because I don't have the means of doing this. And I think that we need to focus on the fact that the stop work order was lifted due to a clerical error, and we continued with the work, and that's the special condition.
Right. And that's the issue. That's the issue the commission actually can't deal with.
Yeah, I think the confusion.
We can't decide whether something was done legally or not. That's nowhere in our purview.
Understood.
We have to, we can't make a decision in making a legal decision like that. The city's law department has to do that. And then even if, no matter what we happen to vote, you still have an option to appeal it anyways. But, and my job is mainly to try and get the historic things is the best we can, which is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And I'm
So-
looking at it too, and I'm looking at all the porches in the area in fairness to us and matching the architectural design, right? I mean, the pitched roof on the front porch looks identical to the neighboring house, and the railing and everything looks identical to the house across the street. I mean, I don't think that we did anything that took away from the character, the original character of the neighborhood. It was slightly different on this particular home, but I want to make that a fair point, right? I mean, it's not, it doesn't stick out too much. And we also have to take into consideration the fact that this was an abandoned home that was owned by a bank that was a huge headache for you guys for years, and nobody put any money into it. And I finally go ahead and put in money. And I don't know, for the last month, I felt like a criminal instead of someone doing something good for the community, and I want this all to be on record and considered when we go ahead and vote for our hardship, because it's not simply like, oh, sorry, it's a little more complicated than that. My wife and I are really disheartened by it. We were really excited about this project. We love it. We love history. We're history buffs. We found this old iron trash can thing in the backyard. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Apparently that's where they put their trash back in the day, and they didn't pick it up at the end of the street. I mean, we love this stuff. We had every intention of bringing it back, and I thought we did a great job. So I appreciate the time, but wanted to get that on record.
No, that's okay. I do want to hear your view on anything relative to even, but I also, and I'm going to just reiterate one more time and not to belabor it, I also want you to think if there's anything you can consider doing to mitigate. I want to hear it. I'd rather it be somewhere in the middle where you actually, where you're happy with what you've done and we're happy with the way it looks. I'm not asking anything, I'm not saying that our only solution is not to tear it down and replicate exactly how it was. That's not what I'm asking for at all.
So if I could chime in quickly, I don't know if you guys can or can't, say this, due to the, financial means of having to change some things, one of the biggest costs associated, I think, would be having to redo the entire roof system. So with that being said, taking the railing heights down would be a little bit difficult due to then having to order longer posts to support the roof. So some of the stuff I don't know if the drainage holes on the side were kind of a concern. I mean, they're in the front. I'm just trying to think out loud here with you guys as far as a middle of the road to where I can pitch in some of my time too to try to make it, work for you guys and for Shane, by changing the railings to try to at least get that aesthetic look of the front entryway, because some of the parts of how it would deconstruct would change major parts of the reconstruction of it without kind of having to, remove the whole project. So just to kind of gauge, so Shane and I can talk also after this meeting. We don't want to have to come back and be like, there's nothing we can do. If there's something that we can think about together, is there something you can give us that would or wouldn't be acceptable to have you guys consider as a group?
Well, because we're subject to open meeting laws and public hearings and commentary, we can't tell you something that would be okay today. We can't do that. The proposal actually has to come from you, and then we have to have a public hearing, and then we have to have a vote on it. It's not, I could never tell you, yes, or this is going to be okay. If it's a change, the only time we can say okay is if there's no change in design or material, which is what we initially felt was going on here. But I'm happy to hear that you guys talk. I'm going to ask for a motion to continue this for 2 weeks to the 21st, because that's how we're operating. It's not, as you've heard, every other one of them has been continued for 2 weeks as well for public commentary. And I think what you were just suggesting about talking about with Shane would be a heck of a good start in a place that we maybe should be next week or 2 weeks from now.
So moved.
Okay, so I didn't hear the first motion to continue, but I heard oh yeah, so moved. Did I get a second?
Second.
Okay. And any commentary on the motion? Can we call the roll? Commissioner Kroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe,
Yes.
Commissioner McFarland,
Yes.
Commissioner Nardi,
You're on mute, Nardi.
Commissioner Nardi.
Sorry, yes.
Yes, and Commissioner Walsh is yes to continue the 163 Piney Woods. So hopefully we can, in a manner, put this one to take care of this in 2 weeks. And I appreciate your guys, and I know this, I understand more about the situation you're in than you might think, but we got to try to come to some agreement in the middle, and we'll talk about it in 2 weeks.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mann, I can't hear you. It sounds like I can see you're moving, but I don't hear the voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
So I was joking with Alvin over the phone. Somebody's got to tell me it does look nice, though.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of positives there. Yes.
I mean, it's not sinking in the ground anymore, and it looks really nice. And we did a nice color match, and
yeah, and you used proper materials for stuff like
you got it. You got it.
There's a lot of positives there. We just gotta iron out a few of the differences. That's all. So
all right.
Anyway,
we'll try to figure something out. Yeah. Thank you for your time, guys. Have a great evening.
Soon. Okay, moving on to the no preservation of historically significant buildings. We have let me just get this file put away before I make too much of a mess for myself. We have non-applicability 62 Westminster, the application of non-applicability stabilizing the porches. This is Esther Good. Who's on for?
My name's Tracy Appleberry. I'm her daughter.
You're her daughter, okay. Is she there with you by any chance?
She's downstairs. I'm on the 3rd floor.
Okay. Okay, so this is non-applicability, so it's just a temporary stabilization?
Yes.
And when do you expect that it would be then repaired?
Probably with
The final repair.
the final repair would be, I don't know, honestly.
Well, do you have any feel for it? 6 months, 1 year?
At least a year.
Okay. Okay. On the we do very often will approve temporary, solutions, but they have ending dates. And then any permanent solution that you come to would have to come back before us for approval.
Yes, we know.
So you know that, okay. Any commissioners have any questions for Ms. Appleberry? No, seeing none, and then I'll just ask for if somebody could make a motion to continue the application to the 21st.
This one's not going to get continued. It's a non-applicability.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're getting a habit of repeating the same thing over and over. Thank you, Alvin. That's why you're there for me. So we can actually take a vote on this then. Okay, I take to a motion to accept the application for certificate of non-applicability 62 Westminster for the temporary repair. And whoever makes the motion, put a time limit on it that if not completed, they would have to come before us again. And I think Ms. Appleberry knows that when an actual permanent solution is proposed, it has to be approved first. So,
yes.
Okay, so I'd entertain that motion.
Okay, so I make a motion that we accept the application for 62 Westminster Street to put up the temporary brace with a 1-year expiration which would, I guess, put it January 7th, 2022.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nardi. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Hearing none, we'll call the roll. Commissioner Kroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. Commissioner McFarland,
Yes.
Commissioner Nardi,
Yes.
and Commissioner Walsh is a yes. Okay, so you're all set for that temporary stabilization of your porches.
Thank you.
So I
All
just
right,
want to
thank
add
you.
also, even if you don't have a definitive plan, by this time next year, if whatever reason you need to extend that, the bracing of your porch, you would have,
Mhm.
you would have to reapply.
Okay.
All right.
Now, should mom call Tapley Street to get them to cash the check?
That's the building department.
Okay.
You would have to speak with the building department on in regards to that, but I will send a certificate to the building department so they understand that you're allowed to temporarily brace your porch.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the list here is the Section 106 review bridge replacement at Armory Street.
So there's actually no one on the call for this particular matter. So this is coming from an agency I believe that the state has hired, as they're going to do bridge replacements on Armory Street over the two railroad spans, the CSX railroads.
Yep.
Lines that go through between McKnight and downtown.
You can take them for a walk.
So they really just want to. They want to know if you guys have questions or if you have comments or anything that I can send to them in regards to the project.
I don't happen to have any. Do any commissioners have any questions regarding this project?
I thought physical design. I mean, obviously it's old and narrow and the road's poor, but the railings looks like at one point were nice. I'd like to know what the final design's going to look like.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some details in the project description, but not that one. I'm scanning it quickly.
Yeah, I saw like measurements. They were going to widen and do that, and the height would be this, but there's no pictures of anything. There's no renderings of what the streetscape would look like.
Unfortunately, it's honestly not really familiar with what it looks like now. I probably should drive over the bridges and see it, but I don't personally have any questions, so we can move on to the next one. If any commissioners end up having any questions, just email them to Alvin.
So I believe they're at 25% of their timeline in the project. But I will ask for, if they do have any renderings of a physical design of what it will look like.
Why not? Why not? You might as well do that, yeah. Okay, next, the creation of a new local historic district, Elias Brookings. Is that you, Mr. Serafino?
That is me.
You waited a long time, Peter. Jump right in there for us.
Always worth it. So, all right. So Peter Serafino representing Home City Development, 261 Oak Grove Avenue in Springfield. We're a not-for-profit housing development organization that purchased the former Elias Brookings School from the city. We purchased it in 2018. It was damaged by the tornado in 2011. We purchased it in 2018 with plans to start renovations into 42 rental apartments. And some of our funding, because these are 42 affordable rental apartments, we did receive an award of $250,000 from the Community Preservation Committee. And as a condition, the CPC requests either a exterior preservation restriction or a one building historic district. And so we've opted for the one building historic district, and which is why I'm in front of you tonight. And let me just say thank you to the commission members and to Mr. Allen. You know, we've been applying to the Mass Historic Commission over the last number of years for Mass Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credits. We've been receiving awards. We've got our federal historic tax credits in hand. We're actually planning to close and start renovations on this project within the next 30, 60 days. We expect by the end of February. In fact, if you went by the school today, you would see a construction trailer out there, but the work has not started. So, so the plan is to, that we're doing this in conformance with the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic rehabilitation. At the end, we'll be certified and place the building on the National Register of Historic Places. And so as the condition for the local CPC funding, we're asking that the commission initiate the establishment of a one building historic district.
Excellent. Commissioners, anybody have any questions for Mr. Serafino? You guys are awful quiet tonight. You're awful quiet every week, just about.
It's a great project.
No, it is. It's a fabulous project.
Nice building. You know, the roof came off during the tornado, but the city put a new roof on it, and it's been dry and clean inside. So you know, they left us with all the stuff inside the building, which we had to clean out. But the building's otherwise in very good shape, and it's going to be a nice home. And you know, the city's improved the park right next door. You get the new school, the new Brookings school right across the other side of the park. So with the street alignment and the roundabout nearby, it's really a good time to bring this project online.
Yep, I agree. And you're restoring all of the facade, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, it's in great shape. We've got we're probably spending $1.1 million, $1.2 million on masonry improvements on the exterior, and then we're keeping the wide corridors on each floor. There's some terrazzo floors in the corridors. There's some nice blonde colored brick that lines the main corridors, and all that is being kept in accordance with the Secretary's standards.
Excellent. Okay, so Alvin, fill me in on the
yeah, so if you guys are in favor of the creation of the new district, you would want to vote to send the preliminary report to Massachusetts Historical Commission.
Okay, so I just wanted to know how to make that motion. If somebody would entertain a motion to do what Alvin just said.
Yeah, and after the study,
Second.
2/3 vote of city council after all of us, just so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry for.
No, please just say it. Repeat everything you just said.
All right.
I didn't hear part of it.
Yeah. So there has to be a study, and then after the study, there needs to be a 2/3 vote by city council for the new historic district.
But we start by sending a letter suggesting that it has historic significance, and this is something that should be done.
Yeah.
Which it clearly does. It clearly should.
Yeah. It can be. Yeah.
Okay. So, but no, this doesn't make it happen. This is just the very first step. So if somebody would make that motion.
So moved.
So moved, and a second on the so moved. Okay, because I'm going to backtrack here, I got a second. Just Alvin, what's this? The motion verbiage is going to be what?
Okay, so you're going to.
The motion is to
send the preliminary report for the Elias Brookings Local Historic District to Mass Historical Commission for review to create a new district.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's the motion. It's been put forward and it's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Kroll?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe? Victoria?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner McFarland?
Yes.
Commissioner Nardi,
Yes.
and Commissioner Walsh is yes. So that's been approved to send out that letter, Peter, and good luck to you. And you know, it's going to be a fantastic project.
Will be good. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Have a good
All
evening.
right, thank you. Okay, next. We have some letters of support requests here. Exhibition of McKnight history, interpretive signs, request for funds to support restoration of housing in the McKnight National Register and local historic districts, and request of funds to support study of McKnight development. Okay. Did everybody get a chance to read the information on these? Am I frozen or are you frozen? What is it? Oh, you're not frozen.
Not frozen.
Okay. This was sent to us by David Gaby, and yeah, I mean, you know, in general, I always think it's a good idea if we can get funds to do things like that. So just David, if you could walk us through the fourth issues here, it'd be great.
Okay, sure. In the first case, there's a funding program through the National Endowment for the Humanities that supports the research and interpretation of historic resources that are considered important to the United States. Naturally, we think our neighborhood's important. The National Park Service has designated most of the area as a National Historic District, and this proposal would essentially build on that to do the research and create a presentation of McKnight in general, but in particular a series of more notable houses as not just important as historic architecture, but important as they relate to the history of Springfield as expression of the Industrial Revolution that was happening in the 19th century and the artistic and cultural accomplishments or features that happened at that time, including the construction of the architecture, the appreciation and development of the artistic talents of the United States, or by the promotion of American art by Mr. Gill, who was a resident of McKnight, and we're also going to try to get some focus on the many technological innovations. For instance, a lot of the people that were involved in developing the automobile industry were McKnight residents, and McKnight residents did a lot of other creative things, as did other people in Springfield. So we're working on an application for that. We've gotten some support for that from the museums of the Quadrangle, which we're going to try to ally with on that. And we're also hoping to ally with the Armory Museum when they get back up and running. So that's number one. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just think, I think maybe talking about them one at a time would probably be better.
That's the first.
Yeah, so the application is, so this is not technically not something other than us suggesting we think it's a good idea, is what you're asking for.
That is, I think, the correct, yes.
Yeah, there's no
architectural impact except for the signs that we talked about previously.
Is that, and that's part of this?
That would be a related thing, yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's something for the commission to discuss.
This is a planning process. So we would be coming back before anything physical happens that has to be a process of consultation and collaboration.
Right. Well, naturally, David, as you know, any letter we approve always has the caveat in it that any project has to continue, still come before us before anything was, any structural thing or anything like that would be approved. But other than that, there's really no, it's not contingent on the commission writing you a letter. This can happen either way. You're just looking for, the more support you have from.
That is exactly correct.
Okay. All right. That's good. Okay. Just wanted to know. Okay. Tell us about the second one now.
The second one is really in the same area. We are asking for support for the process of documentation, of research and documentation, and particularly preserving documents and preserving recollections, which we're losing on a daily and monthly basis because of people passing away and people cleaning out their houses and things.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the things that I was, I confronted myself was one of our members remembered Mrs. Persick, who used to live on Dartmouth Street, making a very wonderful speech to the city council. And I thought, oh, all that'll be on the record. And I naively remembered things improperly, thinking that everything had been video and tape recordings back then in the 70s. And I consulted with our city government, and the planning department had no records, and the city council didn't know if the city clerk had any records, and someone thought something might be in the vault, whatever that is. So this is there are funds available to take care of that. So this is what that's.
Okay, that's another one that really, this is not anything in our purview. Just we would think it's a good idea, and that it, that would just be voicing support for the potential of such a thing, right?
The third one is probably in the same category. It's a similar program that we are hoping to apply to the National Trust for Historic Preservation for planning and research to make sure that we're not losing any of the history of the African American component of our development heritage. And in particular, it's probably a lot of oral history and oral history collection, and this is going to be a letter of intent that's going to be filed next week with the National Trust for Historic Preservation of their new program to reach out and make sure that African American related resources are not being lost. Okay. I don't know that there's any specific physical manifestation that we're going to be proposing, and certainly not in the planning process, not until there's a planning process.
Okay.
The fourth, there's a program called Save America's Treasures, which essentially does support physical restoration and not reconstruction, but restoration and preservation of existing historical buildings in National Register neighborhoods and or National Register sites. And we are going to be proposing that some of those funds come to us locally. I would emphasize that we're proposing that they come to the National Register District, and we are going to be recruiting. We have to have permission from property owners that they're interested in participating. So we're going to be specifically targeting property owners along St. James Avenue, as well as other ones that we think are endangered for potential restoration. This can be up to $500,000. And
is there a mechanism in place if this grant was given? Who would be handling it, and what would people in the district that weren't in that specific area I don't know, I like the idea, but I hear an issue.
As I remember getting a similar grant on Mattoon Street, apparently this is like a post hoc reimbursement kind of a grant.
Right.
So that it's a 50% match.
Right.
So that a project has to be completed, and then checks come from the National Park Service to reimburse the owners.
So any project would have had to come before us ahead of time.
If the project is in the local district, it would have had to come before you. I think under environmental review, it has to come before you anyway.
Okay.
Even if it's in the National Register district.
Okay.
But we're at this point not close. I mean, this is like, if it's approved, it's something in 2022.
Okay. Commissioners, anybody want to ask David any questions or any comments? Or Attorney Shuchuk, if you hear anything there that requires a comment from you, please jump right in.
Yeah, just generally when grants, there's obviously some requirements for the grant, but I mean, not knowing the grant or anything, would have to review it.
I'd be happy to send.
Sorry, I just asked for comment, but I'm going to jump in first for the attorney, only because while I can read through all those, and I hope all four of them happen. I would love to write letters and sign them, but I want to make sure that letters are appropriately written, that in some cases it really has nothing to do with us, but that if any material or anything happens relative to it, that it will have had to come before us and be approved.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the parks department. I mean, it depends. I would have to see it. If you could send it to me so I can review everything. And
yeah, I mean, I have no idea what I would write in that letter right now.
Yeah, I mean,
but it would. I do have some concerns in that vein. Walter, how you feeling about that?
David, I'd like to ask a few questions. I'm unclear on who the sponsor is. Is it you? Is it the McKnight CDC? Who's actually the sponsor of these?
McKnight CDC is making the application.
Okay.
And is there I think Vinny had talked about it in one of theirs. Is there like a work plan or a scope of work on each of these, and on how the money would flow and
there's a work plan on the first one, and it's intended to maximize collaboration. The other ones, we'll be able to provide work plans by the end of the month. But as far as I can see, each building on the Save America's Treasures project is going to have separate work plans, depending on the needs of that particular building.
Okay.
I'd be happy to share the content as it becomes available.
Yeah,
you mentioned the grants are 50-50 matches, all of them? Or...
Save America's Treasures grants are 50-50 matches.
Okay.
In other words, if
they're going to reimburse people 50% of the work up to a certain point, correct? If it meets their guidelines, okay.
If the Secretary of the Interior standards are basically the definition of what needs to be complied with. So we're talking essentially restoration funding.
Right, and part of my question on the administration of it, relative to association with the Historic Commission, because we would have nothing to do with administration or who gets what, only approving what work came requested before us.
Right.
I'd want to make sure that, I'm kind of thinking, how do we make sure that's understood, as opposed to...
It would be a presupposition of our application that any physical work would be coming before you and prior to.
No. What I'm talking about, David, is if you pick one person over somebody else, that can't be an issue for the Historic Commission.
Right.
So don't get me wrong, David. I'd rather solve little problems like this before we get into it and think about them and talk about them now. Because I do see some issues with just sending letters saying, yeah, we should do this without at least some conditions or some understandings clearly written into them. So.
Yeah, so if you could, like I said, again, if you'd send all the information for the commission and for myself to review, that would be a great first step.
Okay. Why don't we do that, David?
What level of information? I can send an outline and the federal regulations related to each one, and we can go from there.
Okay. And how quickly do you need these? Because I have a feeling we're going to have to talk about these a bit more.
Yes.
I think that the last one has to be in on the 26th.
January?
January.
Oh.
And I can have all that probably by next week to you on that. Except for the selection of houses, because that's going to.
Well, that's really has. I guess let me see if I can summarize the way I'm thinking about this. One, I think we should be able to send a letter in support of all four of them, but I want the letters to be clear, especially on one where you're picking who gets and who doesn't get. That has nothing to do with us. We are simply, how do you write a letter saying we're really unrelated to it in a way? Because we want you to get all the money, but if you're going to use it on the house to change the exterior, then you do have to come and see us.
Right.
So there's a couple hanging points in here, but I'd love it if we got that kind of money to do that in that neighborhood. That'd be kind of incredible.
And generally, it's when all the legal opinions I've done with a certain amount of money, it's usually a first come, first served basis, but there could be other requirements and things.
Well, when David said, focusing on St. James Avenue, that's what you said that cued me into the potential issue. What if I'm 3 houses down in Dartmouth?
Yeah, or side street. Yeah.
Side street, yeah.
You say 500,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about a neighborhood with 900 houses.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that that's the only thing that what you said that caught my attention to.
There's still a selection process that has to.
Right. I mean, first come, first serve would obviously be the easiest way to do it. Anyway, I want you to get us everything you can. I think I would be happy to be able to come up with an appropriate letter approved by the law department to send out.
Okay. I'll get it as quick as I can, probably next week.
And hopefully we can get this done by the end of the month or whenever you need it. So whatever you can get us would be great.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Anybody else, any commissioners with any other comments on that or any suggestions?
Maybe just one. On number 4, when you said you were going to approach these different homeowners, are you going to give them a package to let them know what they're buying into as far as the requirements that'll be attached to their property for perpetuity?
We have to. I mean, as a matter of fact, that's one thing that's a requirement is that if it's just like you were talking about with the school, that if it's assisted for restoration, that it needs to stay restored. And
well, lots of times people, come to homeowners and say, "Wow, we got a great program for you." And oh, by the way, you didn't see the small print?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say make it the big print.
And one thing that we're focusing on is that people say things, and I think you had an experience earlier tonight where, sure, it'll be just the same. I won't change anything.
Right.
Significant, but their idea of significant might not be the same as other people's.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to be clear about
this. Okay.
Like we're not trying to focus on everybody has to keep a slate roof forever, but porch railing heights and window sizes and things like that we're going to need folks.
Okay. And that would, in that, anything relative that would come before us anyways, if it were in the district.
Right.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Anybody? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Alvin, am I missing it? It's so moved. Thank
I
you.
was gonna ask you,
Yes, have I missed anything? Alvin always gets me right here because there's something I've always forgotten.
can you stay on and then Attorney Shuchuk? I just wanted to chat with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure.
After
All right.
we adjourn.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
Aye.